Hi everyone, it's Jason here, and welcome to another Elliott Wave Traders Classroom lesson. In today's lesson, I want to go over a question that was received by a subscriber, asking us how we can decide if a three-wave move is indeed a possible zigzag, or could it be looked at in another interpretation, such as a series of ones and twos. And it's a great question because both scenarios are valid at a certain time, although there are a few things you can actually check and at least potentially sway one idea over the other. But at a certain point, a three-wave move can be counted as either a zigzag or possibly a series of ones and twos. So what I want to do is just go over an example of this particular scenario and some of the things you can actually look for to help you decide which setup is actually in progress. Okay, so we're looking at a stock called Silver Corp under the symbol SBM, I should say. And what we've got at the moment is a three-wave looking move. So we've got 5 waves for wave A, a corrective pullback for wave B, and then another 5-wave move for wave C. So all intents and purposes, we can label this as a completed zigzag, and this should see a complete reversal of this advance and make new lows. So i.e. A, B, C. So pretty simple setup, three-wave advance. That's met rejection at the upper boundary of the corrective price channel, and we've also seen a rejection at the equality projection between waves C and A. So this would be considered a decent looking zigzag. It's also been contained by parallel lines. So you got a few things suggesting that this price action, i.e. this up, down, up sequence, is potentially a completed zigzag and would argue for a move lower. So that is actually a bearish setup. However, what you can also look at is this three-wave move could also be counted as a series of ones or twos. So it's actually complete opposite to the bearish zigzag in the sense that instead of labeling this as waves A, B, C, you can go 1, 2, 1, and then this red wave 1 is actually part of a subdivided impulse for blue wave 3. So how do we decide between the setups and both scenarios, because they're literally odds with each other? One of them is bullish, i.e. the impulse scenario, which means you're going to see a significant move higher, and the zigzag scenario is actually bearish, and that argues for complete reversal. Well, whenever you're faced with this situation, what I tend to do is just monitor both scenarios. So rather than sort of force myself into a particular bias, unless I'm really confident in the overall direction, I can argue that this three-wave move is actually a B wave on the zigzag. So the preceding move is a 5-wave decline, so then you've got a 3-wave bounce, and then we expect another 5-wave decline. If that is the case, then I'd be more confident in arguing that this is indeed a zigzag. However, there are going to be times when you can actually argue for both scenarios. So what I want to do is just go over a few things to try and help you decide whether or not you want to look at a three-wave move as a zigzag, or is it part of something such as an impulse, which basically are two scenarios that are opposing each other. So with regards to the zigzag, a few things in favor of this scenario, i.e. it's just a three-wave move, is the fact that the wave C has basically found rejection and found resistance at the upper boundary of the corrective price channel. So it's a common area where you would expect to see the C wave of a zigzag fail. Also, it's failed at the equality of projection between wave C and A. So this is a perfect area where I'd expect to see the C wave of a zigzag top out. So from what I can see, this looks like a classic zigzag, and the rejection so far is what you would expect to see. However, because of the way this has declined so far, you can't actually rule out this being a series of ones and twos. So instead of labeling this as wave A, B, C, you can go 1, 2, 1. And then if this pullback was to remain in 3 waves, then you could also argue that this is actually a smaller degree second wave within a subdivided impulse for this blue wave 3. Now, it's really about the structure on the next pullback. So if this was bearish as it's suggesting, i.e., I'm going to go with the idea of an ABC, and the upside is done, and we're going to see a complete rejection. Sorry, a rejection and a complete reversal of this 3-wave look in advance. Then I'd be expecting further downside. So whereas the bullish case would argue for a corrective pullback, so instead of labeling this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'd label this as A, B, C. So you'd expect to see a 3-wave pullback for the bullish setup, whereas in the bearish setup, which argues for a completed correction, you'd expect to see a much more definitive decline, and it unfold as a 5-wave move from these highs at 439. But because you've got a scenario here at the moment where you've yet to see a significant breakdown to support the bearish case, whenever I'm monitoring price action, such as this example, I also tend to monitor the other scenario. So even if I was bearish here, and I do think the odds favor the bearish case here, I would still keep an eye on this bullish case just in case I'm wrong. And this just slingshots to the upside, and we see a very aggressive move higher. And the reason being is I've been caught out numerous times before looking for a particular pattern to unfold or a particular scenario to unfold after a completed pattern, only for the market to do something completely opposite. And in this case, this is kind of the example where you'd expect the market to do something that you don't expect, because it's at this point, the price action, you can interpret both scenarios, i.e. you can look at it as a bullish setup and look for a 3-way pullback from 439, i.e. ABC, if it is red wave 2, and then you see aggressive move higher. Or you can also argue that this is a series of ones and twos, 1, 2, and then we're going to see another 1, 2, and then we're going to see a third of a third way to the downside. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to see a very aggressive move lower in green wave 3 of red wave 3. So it is important to keep an eye on the price action whenever there is some ambiguity, such as 3-wave movements. They're not always going to end up being a zigzag. I've been caught out before looking for a particular scenario to unfold, only for the market to do something that I completely didn't expect, and I've had to adjust my bias and align myself back with the market. So at this stage, I'll probably lean towards the idea that this 3-wave movement is a zigzag, just because it's met the equality projection at the C equals A target, and we've also seen a rejection at the upper boundary of the corrective price signal. So just by looking at that, I would lean towards the idea it's a zigzag. However, in this case, I still wouldn't rule this out. And depending on this pullback, if it remains as a 3-wave pullback and you don't see the expected downside, if you're looking for the completion of a move into 439, then instead of labeling this as A, B, this has to be 1, 2, and you're expecting a significant breakdown over the next few weeks in a third of a third wave. If you don't get that type of price action, and you see this decline unfold from 391 as a 5, and it ends on and around the equality projection, i.e. C equals A, which comes in at 279, then you have the potential that this actually could be something more bullish. And the reason why I also want to highlight that is that even though your bias is bearish, if the market isn't doing what you expect, you need to take note of that, because it may be suggesting that you need to reconsider your bias. And if the market was to reverse to the upside and prove that the bullish case is indeed the correct wave count, then you'd want to adjust your bias and then consider looking to get in on the trend, as you could also have a potential significant move higher here. So again, regardless of your overall bias, it is worthwhile just keep an eye on the opposite side of the trend, particularly when you've got three-wave movements that could be interpreted as either a zigzag or a series of ones and twos. So I hope that helps. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop me an email. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.